Also, somebody was telling me that there is an update to Titanic Honor and Glory, which is that game that's being made with the lifelike, realistic recreation of the Titanic, which is really interesting. Let's see. It's very short. It's very short, the little update they posted, but let's see what they are saying about this, because this could be interesting.
A lot of you have joined this stream to hear all about Titanic Project 401, our upcoming Titanic recreation, and we will get into the demo in just a second, but I wanted to touch a bit on our flagship project, Titanic Honor and Glory, for just a moment. It's the reason that a lot of you know that we exist. It may be something that you donated to in the past, so let's talk a bit about THG and where progress currently stands. While Project 401 will contain 50% of Titanic, and that is a massive accomplishment, Honor and Glory, as has been our goal from day one, will contain 100% of the ship with the highest of visual and historical detail, and that includes the outside of the ship. So currently, under construction in the VDR virtual shipyard, I guess you could say, is the hull of Titanic. But not just a model of the hull. This is a hull that is being built the way that Harlan and Wolff once built the real thing, plate by plate, frame by frame.
This is awesome. But how is this not overkill? Like, I love the Titanic. Love what you're doing. You're doing great. You're keeping the story alive, which I find it to be a fascinating story, you know, on the potential ills of human and man's arrogance to think that they can conquer nature. You know, I find the whole story of the Titanic poetic, fascinating, and important to remember. But how is rebuilding the model of the Titanic for the game, plate by plate, rivet by rivet, like a good use of time? Like, you see what I mean? Like, how is this not just overkill? Like, it's awesome, but you know, it would be like, oh well, we're going to go to the Titanic, or maybe it's like we're going to make a scale model of the Pyramid of Giza. Awesome, but we're only going to use stone from the same quarry where they built the pyramid from. So we're going to get the stone, then we're going to load it on an oil tanker, and we're going to ship it all the way to California where we're going to build it. It's like, okay, well, you could have just used rocks. You could have just used cement. I think that would have gotten the point across. Like, it's cool, but I think that's overkill. I don't know if that is like a good use of time. I don't know. City Skylines 2. Ooh. Remind me to look that up in a minute, because I definitely will want to check that out. What happened was they saw Luke doing the Lego set and they were like, hold my beer. Yeah, for sure. Titanic conspiracy theories. Oh, we already responded to those in a stream clip back like maybe a few weeks ago. All of those Titanic conspiracy theories are just like the dumbest thing ever. Most of the current trend for Titanic conspiracy theories started with one dumbass's TikTok, and he got railed on so hard by historians and people who actually knew what they were talking about that he deleted the TikTok, but people had already mirrored it all over the place. So now people think, oh, well, actually it was Olympia. It's like, no, it wasn't. We know for a fact it wasn't. There is no question. It was not the Olympia. There's no question.
You're seeing some images here of recent progress by Kyle Hudak, our exterior expert. You can see here how he is using the original iron plans from Harlan and Wolff to make sure that all the shapes are correct, all the spacing is correct. Now here you can see how he's truly modeling each plate individually like they once were, and there's not any copying and pasting available to him at this point, because each plate, if you know anything about Titanic's construction, each plate is a very specific shape and a very specific size, and they interlock with their neighboring plates in a very specific way. These are some of the floors, as they're called, the vertical plates with the lightning holes in them. Those are called floors. They form the tanks underneath the tank top. The tanks will hold water, or they just form the double bottom, so if Titanic ran aground, she wouldn't sink. This, of course, will not come in handy for Titanic, of course, but these floors are there. They need to be there, so Kyle is working on them here in that image. And this here is the tank top itself. These are the plates on top of those floors that form the lowest deck of.
Again, like, this is awesome. This is badass. But, like, players are never going to see this. It's like, it's cool, but like, players are never going to see this.
Titanic. This is where boilers and engines will sit. And just for a little context, a little visual aid, here are some placeholder boilers and engines just to give you an idea of where that would be. And lastly, this is an image showing the frames sprouting up the side. These frames will, of course, stretch the entire length of the ship and will form Titanic's iconic curves and overall structure. So clearly some meticulous, and I'm sure very annoying work being done by Kyle that will form a really wonderful foundation for THG of the future. Okay. So an important thing. If you are at home and you're a video gamer and you're looking at those images and you're seeing the progress on Titanic, Honor and Glory, and you're not really here for Titanic, you're here for games in general, you may be asking yourself, why are you guys doing this like this? Why are you going to such extreme lengths to recreate every plate? Just make the hull one big thing and save yourself so much time.
I appreciate that he's anticipated this reputation, because the main, I think, frustration for a lot of people who have been interested in this is that they've been waiting for this for like 6-7 years. They talked about doing this back like when I was in high school. They were doing this. So they've been working on this a long time. And it's been a very, very small team until relatively recently. So, you know, there's a reason it's taken a long time. No question about that. But to see that it's taken forever and then they're doing like this hyper nitty gritty stuff is kind of frustrating, because you're like, I've been waiting so long, and now you're just taking like this long detour, doing it in the slowest, granted most accurate, but the slowest way possible. It's a little frustrating. So let's see what they say.
Why are you recreating the bottom of the ship? No one's going to see that. Why are you going to such extremes? And the short answer is, we are not making a video game. I mean, we are. It's a video game product. You explore a virtual world. It will be on Steam. You know, all those things. But to call THG a video game, I think, does it a great disservice. It actually limits what we are actually doing. What we are actually doing is an intense study on Titanic. It's an incredible deconstruction of Titanic's actual construction. We are not developing this to the standards of the video game industry. We are developing this to the standards of Harlan and Wolff and Thomas Andrews, you know? And I know that might make some people laugh, but it is extremely true. Titanic is everything to us. I don't think anybody on our team has gone a day of their lives without thinking about Titanic. We are all Titanic enthusiasts first, video game developers second. We are trying to do something for the Titanic community, which is admittedly a very niche community, which means that our potential for incredible profits is not in our sights. We're not doing this for a big payday one day. We are not doing this for the general video game community. We are doing this for the Titanic community. We're doing this for those who built her, for those who sailed aboard her, and for all those in peril on the sea. Truly. So,
I mean, it's a cool, I guess you could say it's like almost like a memorial, a digital memorial. This is starting to sound like NFTs really quick. It's a digital memorial. You can pay your respects, literally. But no, it's like they're building this thing one-to-one, copying exact plans, going in, exact steel plates are being built in. Like, they're doing this very, very carefully with a lot of love and attention, which nobody's doubting. But the question is just whether or not this is pragmatic, whether this is practical at all. And I think, like, I don't think it's a scandalous thing to say that, like, building the hull rivet by rivet is not a great use of company time or resources. I get the idea. It's like, we came to rebuild the Titanic. That's what we're doing. We're not rebuilding something that looks like it. We're rebuilding the Titanic in this, video game form. And that is cool. But I'm conflicted. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm conflicted because I get what they're doing. But yeah, it's like a virtual Titanic exhibit. Yeah. I get it, and I also don't get it. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Maybe a game mode to build the ship. One thing I think they have the potential of doing is selling the rights to this to, like, James Cameron, who owns most of the other Titanic exhibits that have toured the country. And they could probably turn this into another aspect of the museum exhibits that tour the world. Not that regularly. They do it like once a decade, but it could be interesting. It could be really, really interesting. To be able to explore the Titanic, and it's a 1-to-1 recreation. That's pretty cool. Ubisoft are going to be buying it. I mean, you never know. They might be approached by a company like Ubisoft and made an offer, or, as a developer, I could totally see going in. I think there's huge potential for a narrative Titanic game. I think you could probably go with, like, imagine if Naughty Dog came along and they, like, recreated the Titanic, or they bought this recreation of the Titanic from these guys, and then they went in and they created a narrative, nitty-gritty game. Could be interesting. Could be really, really interesting. It gets tricky monetizing it because it is a tragedy. 1,500 people died. But then again, I mean, we also have video games about war, and so I guess people kind of look the other way for a lot of that. But this could be incredible for museum or space or historical simulations. I'm impressed over the technical aspects more than the game parts. Well, and that's where I was like, okay, it could be really cool for simulations and stuff because they're building this so structurally accurate. But it's not like it's being built in Unreal Engine. It's not being built in CAD. It's not being built in something that's going to help them simulate stuff. And even then, I don't know what use that would be. And they've already done a lot of physics simulations on the way the Titanic pulled apart while sinking. There's a lot of things they've already done with, like, industrial engineers and stuff. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
If you are excited by those images, if you begin to salivate when you see the potential in those images, to see Titanic like you never have before,
The pictures of the hull both look smaller and bigger than I was expecting. Like, I guess you just imagine for the Titanic some insane monstrosity, but then you see the people standing on the deck, and you're like, okay, well, no, I mean, it's a ship. It's a big ship, but it's not, like, miles long,
That is what we are trying to bring. The video game that we were planning years and years ago. Not quite in the books anymore. What we are making now.
Oh no, Whippy Ice! It's not at all the biggest ship in the world. The modern stuff is just ridiculous. You can see the scale. This is how big these current ones are versus the Titanic. Like, the ones they have nowadays are actually ridiculous. The Titanic was ridiculously huge for its time, but compared to modern stuff, I mean, this is an actual ship. Like, this thing is floating. It does not look like it should be able to float, but it's floating, so the stuff they're able to do now is just ridiculous. Like, these cruise liners have full water parks on top of them. Yeah, so, like, you see, compared to the Titanic, there's the Titanic in little black, and then the white is this ship. It's insane. So, not the biggest by far anymore, but for the time, it was ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. All of this stuff that they showed looks cool. It looks really impressive. Nobody's doubting that there's a lot of hard work going into this. There clearly is. But for me, at least, I guess I would say I get that they're trying to do a full recreation, but I still feel somewhat frustrated that this has taken so long, and yet they are not taking any steps to expedite. They are still doing things in this incredibly slow and methodical way, which is, again, I get it, but it's also frustrating. Asset management is the frustrating part to me. It's going unnecessarily huge in terms of file size. There's file size, but there's also just practicality. This stuff that they're showing here, you will literally, when you play this game, when you're walking around the ship, you will never see these pieces. You will never see it. It's not that you might not, or you'll only see them if you're really looking for them. You will literally never see them unless you like hack into the game's camera and you alter it so you can clip into the underside of the ship. You're never going to see any of this. So I appreciate that they have like these holes, these holes cut properly so that it realistically can show that. And, it's legitimate. But it's also just frustrating because it's like it's literally a waste of time. Like, nobody will ever see it. If they didn't do this, nobody would be any the wiser. And I don't think anybody would care. I don't think their backers would be like, so I paid $10 5 years ago to get access to this project, and I come to find out the underside of the ship is not 1-to-1 historically accurate. I want my $10 back. Like, it's ridiculous. This plate was curved. It wasn't squared off, so I want my money back. Like, can you imagine? It's clearly a passion project, absolutely. But they're not taking passion project money. They're taking money. And so it's a little frustrating to see that they just, they're just continuing to take their time very steadily. I get it. They want to do this right, and in their minds, doing it right means 1-to-1 historical accuracy. That's what we started. That's what we were trying to do. That's what we're going to do. I get it, but it's also a little frustrating. He took my